Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Coriolis rules by Free League Publishing. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. Strong language, powerful factions, and adventures across the third horizon await. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your storyteller. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I'm your storyteller Mike, and my pronouns are he, him. We are back with our Children of the Periphery sci-fi space adventure for you, and just happy to have you in. So if you've not had a chance to check out what we offer on Patreon and a way to help and support such great players and a great show, you can at patreon.com/the Always Podcast. As always, we'd love you to jump over to YouTube and check out what we have to offer there as well. And now we're going to get to introductions. To my right,
this is Morgan, and I play Captain Amara Casra of the ship Sky Skimmer, and our pronouns are she, her, and we're going to go do something on a planet, or I have no idea what we're going to do.
I like that you don't know what you're going to do, but yet are confidently forging a path forward. I love that. And to Captain Casra's right.
Hi, this is Allie, and I play Kainat Gala, and there will probably be trouble. There will definitely be new technology, and I'm hoping I can get it.
I'm just going to leave that right there. And at the end of the table.
Hi, this is John. I play Fida, the ship's mechanic. We both use he, him pronouns, and nothing to worry about really, is there? It's just another day in space.
You're fine. Everything will be fine, I'm sure. To Fida's right.
Hi, this is Rena. I play Tamara Scanvari. Our pronouns are they, them. And we're just having a week. Just an absolute week.
I'm going to suggest you ease up on the cigars, but other than that, happy to have you here. And last but most certainly not least.
Hello there. I am Rosie of Odd Duck Dice, playing Icarus. Our pronouns are she, her. And Icarus is the pilot of the Sky Skimmer. And we're doing a thing. Not sure. Yeah, it's a thing.
I think it's interesting here, sort of towards the climactic portions, that there's a little bit of unknown still left. I like that. Hopefully our listening audience enjoys it as well. So we're going to raise the curtain tonight outside Algol, or in the Algol system, which is just a single yet unstable jump away from the place the crew of the Sky Skimmer, otherwise affectionately known as the Periphery, need to go. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just look in on some of their final decisions before they make that jump, and maybe unearth part of a plan, a section of a plan, maybe an entire plan. Let's see.
Look, Captain, all I'm saying is I think it's a terrible idea to try and use this portal in space because, again, the darkness, the friendly race that are much wiser than us, that have literally been forced to flee by this unknowable force that we just kind of think is a metaphor sometimes. I just think we have to stop that ship going through that portal no matter what.
So are we worried that the darkness is going to go through the portal or come through the portal? Because the darkness is already here, supposedly.
Yes. The worry is that it would go through the portal and come out on their end in the, I guess, fourth horizon?
Yeah, but what if we need that portal to, save humanity?
Well, yeah, we can use it just as long as it's not in space.
I look around, but how else are we going to use it?
I mean, you just walk through, is my understanding. You could use a car or a train or a grav bike, whatever you like.
Yeah, I would prefer not to blow the portal up as a last resort.
Again, Captain, the amount of energy that would be released in doing so would be a bad idea. That's my professional opinion as the one guy who understands the physics behind it, even though I don't really understand it, I just have it in my head.
Should we threaten to blow up the portal but not actually follow through with it?
I think we're in enough trouble as it is. let's add that as our secondary last resort. Our first last resort before we blew up the portal. You know what I'm saying.
So we're just going to build backward from, okay, so blowing up the portal is the very last thing we should do. We'll just build up to what actually amounts to an actual plan.
Exactly. Let's, Fido, these are your people that we're going to talk to, or maybe not talk to.
He's like, I'm not a portal builder, right? I'm just a guy with a gene who can interact with portal builder technology, but still.
Oh, I thought that the captain meant they were engineers, and we were going to go talk to the engineers.
Oh, good, because I was going to say that we watched the last one die.
Oh, the portal builder. Okay.
We didn't watch him die. We watched... Yeah. He's like, sorry, I've got a lot going on right now. It's not great.
I meant that they're engineers and you can, talk to them about engineering things.
He nods. He's like, yeah. I mean, we can try and logic, explain, hey, this is the consequences of what we're doing. This is how what we're doing works, by the way. He just kind of like looks down and he's like, I mean, what if we convince them, but then, the secret police show up and they're like, oh, well, if you don't get to work, your family will disappear. I think that's a reasonable concern.
It is. Another thought I had was that we could always threaten them with exposing their project if they don't listen to us. That would be less dramatic than blowing things up, but they might also just kill us. And then use Fida's knowledge. I don't know.
So does that fall above or below the threaten to blow up the portal?
I feel like it falls above.
Try that before we threaten to blow anything up. Gotcha.
I mean, I'm glad we have a plan of things we don't want to do necessarily until it's a last resort.
It's an important distinction so we don't go off half-cocked.
Okay, so before I pull a job, I like to look at escape routes and get information, make a map, something. Based on how many things we have on the list that we don't want to do, maybe we need more information? Maybe we need a better map. I just don't know how to get it.
Well, we can go into the system and the ship's pretty flashy, but we can try and, hang out in a debris belt and try and observe for a little bit. Just use the ship's instruments. Maybe just monitor comms chatter. Rakam, do we have the capacity to decrypt encrypted channels?
Rakam visualizes in a cloud of holographic purple. We can do some of it, but not all of it, probably. They're probably using some type of encrypted military protocol, which means we're going to have to, I would imagine, get pretty close to hear anything. So, I mean, if this thing is ground level, planet-based, well, inside the planet, there's got to be a way in and out, right?
The portal builders had a facility to get down there anyway, for sure. Presumably it's the conglomerate, isn't it?
The consortium is the really, really big faction. The consortium is basically a collection of mini factions. So yeah, that's one that could certainly be targeted.
Kaina, Tamarisk, you both would know more about this than I do. If I wrote down everything I knew and, published it, what do you think that effect would be? Just made it publicly available, did not hide it, put it on the net for everybody to see.
It's a good way to get yourself disappeared.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but it could cause disruption, right? It could slow things down for even a little bit while they check it out. All I'd have to do is put something that can be proved at the top, and then, some engineering thing that they can understand and prove, and then the rest of it has to be read closely. Plus, that undermines any attempt to control the information so that, it disincentivizes them to keep this secret.
Well, especially if it starts off, on the net as it showed up in one place and then there's a bunch of rumors that go along with it. This can't really be real. And then people go out of their way to track it down.
Mm-hmm. Thing is, I wouldn't believe it if I saw it. So that's why I'm trying to think of how to put something in there that would convince people like me.
I don't want to rain on your parade, but I don't think it's going to work. So the consortium control what happens on the net. They own it. Nothing goes out over it very long. I mean, pirate stuff, sure. The nomads broadcast pirate information all the time. But the Gen Pop doesn't
have access to that. Yeah.
Not only access, but do they believe it?
But if they did, nomads would have people showing up to their claims all the time. No, you're right. I was just hoping that there'd be a way to throw it out there and maybe make a noise.
Hey, make whatever noise you can. It can't hurt. Just maybe, I don't know, don't bet the crew's future on it.
And the ship. No, I got you. It's too high risk. Well, the reward would be huge, but it's also probably not going to pay off. Let's say we talk to all the engineers and we convince them, hey guys, if we go through that portal using a spaceship, we're going to destroy an advanced race that is much more capable than us because we're going to bring something along. Or let's say like that just goes really well. The problem is that people behind all this can just bring in more engineers. They can just bring in more genius level intellects because they have the money to do it, and they have the influence, and they have the power, they have the employee contracts, they have the skullduggery. So I just worry that we'd have to make a real dent to make them stop and look and reassess what they're doing.
Rakam shrugs. They don't know what they don't know.
That's true.
It's most likely the same old story that seems to dominate your kind. You take advantage of one another for someone's gain, and then you put in a system that forces that to be cyclical.
You got it!
And he's like, yep. Because it's slightly better than some of the alternatives. It's the least terrible option sometimes, Rakam. The least terrible. Of course, it relies on trust and, mutual cooperation.
Did we figure out where was Altan Benli getting their funding from?
Presumably, it's just a sub-faction of the consortium. Because no one can keep a secret. So, enough people within the consortium knew that our patron found out, possibly through someone telling her or through spy shenanigans. And then she was killed. Now, that might have been to send a message to not just us, the people doing the looking, but also to people within the faction who might have been willing to talk and then were encouraged to silence. Two birds, one stone.
Okay, but remember, some of the, what we looked at with Marhoon's communications, it looked like she was deflecting a lot of stuff from her faction. So maybe she was not working with them. Maybe she was a mole or a spy or just disagreed.
Oh, absolutely. And there's probably an option to play people against each other, but I don't know anything about that. He just kind of makes a big shrug. He's like, I don't know the players and I don't really know the game.
Yeah, and I'd be shit at it too. So again, we need more information. Fida, I think the idea of us sitting there and watching isn't a bad one. I think it's about as good as the best thus far. Or, it could all be moot. We could show up and there could be someone waiting for us. And then we're fucked anyway, which is a lovely thought. Because then we don't have to worry. It's all done.
And that sounds super exciting. Rakam, do you have schematics of Zamusa and the best place for us to land on the planet?
I mean, there are several different places one could land a ship like this on Zamusa. So I have a question for Fida and Kainat. Have you included Rakam on any of the data that you've tossed back and forth? Like the actual planetary schematic and...
I would have, because he can process it faster than me.
Yeah.
He can process the numbers and stuff, so yeah. Plus, I figure Rakam's part of the crew at this point, so even I view him as that, so yeah.
All of the data that the first time that I basically invaded as much of Fida's mind as I could, I have that library database that's plugged into the ship. So Rakam would have full access to that anyway. So it would be very easy for him to be able to access anything that we asked him to or that he wanted to. So I don't see why not.
Okay, let me make a roll for him then. So Rakam pauses for a little bit and just sort of stares at you, Captain. And then he says, based on the information recovered and provided, I can give you a generalized area which you could land. The planet, for the most part, is parts of it are barren. It looks like, based on the cutaway, that this void might be in one of those barren areas. I would think that there must be a planetary burst airlock nearby. There has to be a method or way of conveying equipment, people, consumables down to the research area.
Do those schematics that you have or any other information that was uploaded include information about planetary defenses or security around the planet, something that might stop us?
No. All the plans were built and based around imagery from the portal builders, who, for as far as they knew, had no predators. They did not build planetary defenses because they had no equals. And they had long ago eschewed the idea of fighting one another. A lesson you might want to learn.
So there's no towns or anything on the planet's surface?
There are.
There are? Okay.
They are relatively nearby, within about 10 kilometers or so. I can point them out on the map here.
That would be great.
You will, of course, have to adjust for your jump to Zamusa.
That's true. But you and Icarus can collaborate on those calculations, right?
Happily.
Icarus just looks exhausted at the mere thought of more of this math. And she sort of puts her face on the table and goes, yeah, I can go do them.
We can certainly just wing it.
No, that's a bad idea. Even I know that.
I was merely checking to see if you had learned. This is a good sign.
Thanks for calm. Yeah, okay.
All right, so here's what I'm thinking. And, this is a group decision, not a captain decision, because we're all putting our lives on the line. Is that we land on Zamusa, somewhere near the void, but not too near the void, but also near town. That perhaps we can acquire some maintenance uniforms, security uniforms to infiltrate the base and talk to Dr. Ben Lee.
All right.
I think that encompasses several people's plans.
I think it's a good idea in general, Captain. I do think it is a super top secret research base, and thus the local yokels might not know about it.
Is there a big hole in the ground of the planet that opens and shuts?
It's not a hole. And he brings up one of the drawings, and he's like, "No, see, it's a hole under the surface. It goes there's solid rock above it. It's not a dent in the surface. The surface is smooth. It's just underneath. There's a thing where you could put, I don't know, say an industrial amount. Say a whole civilization. You could put them all through there.
But how do you get in there?
There's probably like an elevator.
I'm sure that they have locals, suppliers that know at least the gist of what's going on, or at least where they leave the super secret notes or something.
All right, so we want to go to the planet. We want to settle on the planet with the Sky Skimmer, and we want to at least minorly observe. We should get those calculations going, because the longer we wait, the worse it gets, right?
Yeah, we need to get the hell out of Algol pretty lickety-split, to be honest. I've heard stories, man.
So let's get.
Okay. I'll see you all on the bridge. Rakam evaporates.
I don't think he was feeling too good about our plan.
Well, he is a former military AI. I mean, he's probably got more experience with this type of shit than we do.
He doesn't have a physical body. It's not like he's there or here. We could always just ask him now.
I'm going to go to the bridge and I'm going to settle into my pod of ops and I'm going to wait for the rest of this crew to come join me. We have shit to do.
Yeah, I follow Kainat.
Icarus waits until she's the last person in the room and looks up at the ceiling and says, So, what do you think we should do?
You see Rakam rematerialize in the room. Speaking as a former military intelligence analyst, I would say you have a chance of about 0 to, what do you say, fuck all of it working right now. You have to think covertly. If you stop at a nearby town to get uniforms, this ship will get recognized. If you park far away and you try to sneak into town to get uniforms for a base that doesn't exist, do you think that's a smart idea? And remember, the clock is ticking. The battle group that is chasing this ship right now, probably only at most 6 or so hours away. Just a thought.
Well, if they're only 6 hours away, we don't really have time to do anything smart.
I disagree. I think you could leverage what you know into a plan of action. The last thing that this research scientist wants is someone knocking on his door, right? Because it is dangerous for him and for the entire project. You're the danger. So you need to learn to leverage that danger. Stop seeing it as a drawback and use it as an advantage.
That's all great advice. You could have piped in.
I could have. It's not my job to do that. It's not in my core programming to be part of the solution in that way. Being forward. It's dangerous. You know that, right? What happens when someone speaks up?
Yeah.
For someone who spent most of their existence on a military intelligence ship, we were always seen as a dangerous program. They were always waiting for us to take over.
If it makes you feel better, I'm not scared of you. So let's go to the flight deck and see if we can share that information, your thought process, with everybody. And then maybe we can use some of your experience to figure out a better plan that's less likely to get us killed.
I like that. I'll race you there. He dematerializes.
That's just so not fair. And then she runs off.
So on the bridge,
We're here. It's exciting.
We're here.
you get there. As you get to the bridge, Rakam steps out from one of the holographic arrays. Okay, so the first job is getting us to Zamusa, right?
Yes.
I think it's a good start.
Good idea. So we'll plot a course. We'll get ready for jump. After that, I think on the view screen you see a large representation of Zamusa. I think we can judge that hole, that crater right about there. You see a little blip on the surface. If that's true, we can take a southern polar approach when we arrive. It should shield us from most of any of the satellites that run on some of the northern edges. It'll take some fancy flying, but if we can get low on the surface, considering the size of the ship, we might be able to come in during one of the dust storms and maybe, just maybe, have about 5 minutes or so to get close enough to whatever opening that they use. Past that, it's going to take talking, maybe shooting, to get deeper in to open whatever hatch they might have. And that's only a potential possibility. You all need to consider that you might be leaving this ship behind.
So what you're saying, Rakam, is that the first plan we laid out you didn't think was appropriate?
I didn't think that it held the highest percentage of success.
Well, going forward, if you could just speak up when you have a thought. You are a member of this crew.
People keep saying that.
I think Icarus at this point comes into the deck going, like, she's out of breath. She's like, I'm here. Okay, yeah, you beat me here. That's not fair. I'm going to sit down now.
Well, Rakam has a wonderful secondary plan that gives us the highest percentage of at least making it.
Oh, it's filled with variables, Captain. Each one of you is a specific X variable, or Y potentially, or whatever level of the alphabet you prefer. But it is better, arguably, than going to a nearby town and knocking on someone's door and saying, "Hey, have you seen the secret base around here?"
You don't happen to be the drunk janitor, do you?
Listen, I've done a lot of smuggling and a lot of transfer of packages from one place to another, discreetly or not discreetly. So infiltrating a planet base is just not on my resume at the moment, but it will be.
I mean, Captain, there's a first time for everything.
That's true.
Well, wait a minute, though. Isn't Vita sort of the package that you need to discreetly deliver?
Could say we're bringing them a portal builder. Vita, we've captured you.
Handcuff me or anything, right? You'll make it look like you have, but they'll be like unlocked, so I can just slip them off.
That seems like hopeful thinking.
Why are we handcuffing anyone?
They make a good point. We need to work on calculations to Zamusa. Someone needs to prep the clamshell.
I'll prep the clamshell.
Okay. You see Rakam sit down in the air next to the navigational terminal. He sort of balances on one knee, like without a chair.
So when you try and sit in the chair, do you do parts of you like go through it? Is that the problem?
You know, it's sort of a personal thing. I don't like to talk about it, but it's difficult. I have to imagine myself in whatever position I need to take, and it takes a few seconds sometimes to get it right. I have accidentally appeared through the chair a few times.
Yeah, you'll get it eventually. Practice makes perfect. I'm going to go down to the workshop, see if I can't fix up something that might, something that might help. Jesus, by the icons.
Okay, so here's that, like, system-wise. I don't know what you're fixing up down there, Fida, or whether you're preparing, but I'm going to guess it's probably a wits technology roll.
Yeah, that sounds about right. What I'm actually going to be preparing is basically a way of carrying my tools so that it's not just my tool belt. Things like, I've got a pry bar hidden in my boot. I've got a spanner here. I've got a...
You're going to become a very sassy engineer. Leatheried. I see.
Yeah, you see how it's going. But yeah, I'll give you that wits technology roll. No successes on that one. So that's,
So how do we feel about that?
I think I can improvise something without having my tools hidden in my person. Because I imagine they'd take my tool belt if I was being, delivered to a bunch of legionnaires. If they have legionnaires, if they just have a bunch of engineers, I don't think I'm going to be strip searched. If they have legionnaires, I'm definitely going to be strip searched.
Okay, you're just going to leave it as a failure then? No problem.
He's just like, my trousers are too tight. Blast.
Okay, so Icarus, you and Rakam sit down to do some mathematics.
Yep. She sits down in her chair. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. You're imagining things. You're joining the conversation. That makes me really happy.
He looks to the left to look at you. We've come a long way.
How do you feel about that?
It's a lot more interesting than being on a boring military ship just blowing people out of the sky.
Yeah, I could see why you wouldn't want to feel a whole lot while you were doing that.
Yeah.
So math.
Oh, yeah, math.
What roles do you want here?
It's probably going to be, I imagine, science with science.
Yep.
Rakam will assist you.
Well, hot fuck fud. That's 4 successes.
That's a lot.
I don't think I'm going to roll that well again rest of the game, so I hope it worked.
Okay. So you have 4 successes, which is enough to do 2 things. One, enough to obtain a critical to go through a portal which is unstable with no prior programming. That's important. So you buy that 3 success difficulty required. You have 1 additional, which means what you're going to do is you're going to afford your crew a bonus die on any, we'll just say, mental calamities which may occur or may not occur when you pass through. Rakam looks over at you and says, I think you got this. You don't need my help.
I'd feel better if you looked it over, though.
Oh, sure. And he scans it over. Given the current state of the local space, we should probably input this and get going.
Okay. She gets on comms and says, all right, folks, approach your clamshells and your cryoware. I have a course laid in. We're essentially ready to go. So, countdown?
Countdown.
Before going to cryo, I'm going to go to the chapel, say a quick prayer at the gambler.
Yeah, what does the prayer feel like?
Gambler, what we are about to do as a crew is incredibly risky. However, it's my hope that you will lend us your favor with the odds that we're going up against. Please don't let the darkness in. Please don't let it find us. And if you can, please hide us. He gets up and he's just rubbing his neck as he goes to the pod because the last time was terrifying and wasn't super keen on it.
Okay. The clamshell awaits our crew. You step in like you have so many times before, and you get reacquainted. Tamarisk, you see Rakam has taken like his position on this side table that he usually materializes on, and he's just watching the crew carefully. I gotta say, your whatever trick you pulled to get us this time, Tamarisk, has been super useful. That blockade made it happen.
We all have our skills. Just glad it came in useful this time.
I'll be on the bridge, trying to keep control of this thing if it goes off into a bad direction. I don't know what it'll be like when we get to Zamusa, but if there's trouble, we'll probably know pretty soon.
Hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Okay, everybody. Time to lock it in.
Yeah, try to make sure that everybody's able to lie down comfortably in their clamshell. Hopefully now fully healed, injuries included. He's just checking everybody, making sure that just that little bit of extra care because of what could happen.
It takes you another couple minutes of futzing to feel like everybody's aligned properly. You get inside your pod portion and the clamshell begins to lower. And then everything gets a little quiet. The hum of the ship seems to dim a little. There's a countdown clock, which you get a chance to watch as it goes. You feel the ship begin to move forward and time sort of dilates out, where you see and feel every second just a little bit more. As you push your way through this portal, you have the fleeting perception of a proximity alarm going off on the ship. And then a series of red lights fill the space. And then blackness overcomes every sensory input. What seems like moments later, the clamshell releases. The pod doors come up. The area is filled with a mixture of oxygen and other particulates to help you wake up. It's at this point you also are alerted by the system computer, not Rakam, but the system computer, which you rarely hear from, which advises you, Captain, that your cryo tanks are at emergency levels. It's been a little while since you refueled.
Okay. I'll get out of the clamshell. Feel a little woozy.
Oh yeah, you definitely feel woozy. All of you do.
So what we're saying is our ship is low on fuel.
Not low on fuel, but low on the cryogenic element that you use to stay under when jumping.
Icarus is running as quickly as possible to the flight chair after waking up. She probably even knows where she needs to brace herself against which wall as she careens into it after freshly coming out of cryo, just because experience is showing her that she needs to be there quickly because they don't know what's going to be on the other side.
You are 100% at this point a pre-programmed pinball when it comes to those corridors. You probably even play a little game in your head about how many steps it takes you to get there, from here to there to there. And it probably in some strange way, or maybe not so strange, gives you small comfort in knowing that you hit the numbers that you're supposed to when you weave back and forth through the corridor. You land in the navigational chair, obliterating the holographic image of Rakam with your body presence. You heard the speaker go, "Whoa!"
Sorry, I didn't see you.
I had it under control, I swear.
I believe you, but what are we looking at?
We're good. We're good. The calculations were right. Zamusa's not far. We need to get out of this area fast. This is the portal side, and the Portal Authority doesn't maintain the bridging station here because of the instability, but that doesn't mean that they don't monitor it.
Okay, let's go then. And we fly off.
Yeah, it doesn't take you long to get the control panel pulled up and all of the tactile buttons at your command. You feel the ship dive and then float to sort of get away from the space you're in. All the rest of the crew feels this as well. And while I wouldn't necessarily, hey, look, it's normal, we're getting out of a portal and we're going suddenly in a rapidly different direction, it is kind of sort of the usual. John, would Vida make me a wits observation roll, please?
1 success.
The shapes on your forearm are beginning to move.
Slowly or fast?
Fairly slow at this point. You're seeing them sort of move into a different shape and pattern.
Gets the captain on the comms. He's like, "Captain, I've just noticed that my ink is moving, and I think we're pretty close to portal builder technology, so we're definitely in the right system. Great news."
Captain responds back with, "That's good to hear that we didn't jump to the wrong system."
Well, I mean, Captain, it was possible that we could have come out in a horrible hellscape, so this is pretty good outcome as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. Do you need anything?
No, that'll be fine. I'll let you know if I need help or anything. I get the feeling it'll get a bit stronger as we get closer to the planet.
Why do all of you have so little faith in my space navigational abilities doing the thing that we're not supposed to be doing?
It's not lack of faith in your space navigation doing the thing we're not supposed to be doing. It's the fact that it's an unstable gateway and that nobody knows what might happen, regardless of skill and finesse.
Okay.
So, Icarus, if you're going to make your dive towards the southern pole and then eventually the re-navigation up as was recommended, that'll be a piloting roll, of course, as assisted by the ship.
3 successes.
Okay. Ship adds an additional 1, so you have 4. So with the critical in piloting, I would be happy to give you a little narrative control here and explain to us how you set the ship up for its approach and arrival and its atmospheric entry.
It sort of feels like it drops and flies down, and she manages to turn the ship at just such an angle so that it, instead of slamming into atmosphere, it's more like it slowly cuts through it at a good angle and directly into a appropriately placed sandstorm. And then they just kind of follow the shape of that a little bit until she reaches where they need to go. So I hope everyone's holding on to something, because there's a lot of really fast curved motions happening.
So I think that is an excellent point to raise. And so what I'm going to do is spend a darkness point, and I'm going to force the crew to make agility rolls in an attempt to hang on while Icarus does her thing. And you had 4 successes on that piloting roll. So we'll just say that the crew collectively need to collect 4 successes to not be thrown about. Not per person.
I got 0 successes.
Good lord, I got 2.
Good, because in classic fighter form, I have failed to get a single success.
I also got 2.
Tamarisk and Kainat save the day. So essentially, what the other 4 do is run around and try to get people buckled in to their flight seats because Icarus sort of just took the energy with her, as she's wont to do, and caused a chaotic mess on the bridge. You mostly focus on getting Vida strapped down because it's sort of like, moving a couch in that way. He's a really big mine, so you gotta make sure that he's set correctly.
No, I was gonna say, I need more straps than most, but it's not my fault.
You get planet side. Why don't someone give me a ship sensors roll?
That would be me. What do you want me to roll for that? Just my wit science?
Yeah, wit science is fine. The ship will give you an assisting die.
Hey, that's 2 successes.
Okay. So you do notice a couple of things. The planet does have an array of sensor buoys and satellites that exist in space. Likely, these are to relay communications, probably provide weather data, and also to, in effect, from reach, snoop on what goes on the planet. A lot of observational buoys. And they're not just in the northern section of the planet or the northern polar section of the planet, they're also in the south. So in that southern region, you'd notice that the ship does get pinged a couple of times by buoys that see it and notice it.
Well, Captain, we've at least been seen.
All right, well, we're already on a limited time clock anyways, with the battle group right behind us.
Rakam, is there any way for us to tap into the sensor network that's already present?
It might be possible to hack into it. You could use the ship's communication array to try to feed some of that data in, but you'd probably need to, someone here would have to be talented in hacking that sort of signal data.
Well, I can try. I've hacked into several other things at this point. Does that mean I get to roll storyteller?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can attempt to hijack some signal data.
Heck yeah. Hot damn, that is a whole pile of nothing. I'm sorry, everyone.
You are not sorry.
You know what? That made up for it, though, because I got 3 successes.
Okay. So that's a critical success, which means I'll allow you to hijack some of the communication data that is coming in streaming to Zamusa. Now, the data moves in through an unstable portal and thus sort of an unstable data rate. So you get blips of information. Imagine downloading pictures off of the internet with intermittent internet signal. All right. You begin getting some both terrestrial data and some pending communications that are coming into Zamusa's hub. It does look like the ship has not only been pinged by the southern buoys, but that information has been routed to effectively Zenithian faction houses here on Zamusa. Saving grace, of course, being is that if you're presupposing that the laboratory or the secret base structure is sort of off communication from everything else because of secrecy, they don't know you're coming, at least as far as you know.
All right, Cap, we definitely have been seen. Our location has been sent out along some of the communications. I don't know exactly how extensively, but enough. We should probably land the ship wherever it is that we're going to need to land it. And the faster, the better.
Yeah, Rakam, what's your suggestion?
Get planet-based as soon as possible, get low, and get in near some of these obstructions, mountains, any potential cover from orbital satellite imagery. You need to become a ghost.
No, I understood that. But where on the planet should we land? As I'm pointing at the screen.
I trust our navigator to find a spot.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Icarus gives an almost evil chuckle. She's like, yes. And she flies way too close to everything. And she's like, So Rakam, she says this very calmly. She says, so Rakam, you remember I said something like, if I ever had to fly the Periphery the way I drive Ghost, we were in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now. What do you think? And she is like hugging as close to absolutely every surface as possible. So, like, it's risky.
I'm very appreciative that the builder of this ship crafted us with special ablative nano armor.
Right? It's really nice.
That's not an encouragement.
I think it is.
Icarus, just land us somewhere wherever you think is the best. I'm done with our conversation, so I'm going to get up and go and go gather my weapons and go to the chapel and pray to whatever icon I need to pray to get our butts safely off this planet at some point.
Fight is already there, thanking the gambler for covering his back during that little slip through the unstable portal. I, of course, recognize that the lack of cryo fluid is on. That is something I should have been checking, but there's nothing you could have done about that. Thank you, gambler. You've got to keep them happy.
Are you saying that out loud, Fida?
Oh, 100%.
No. So when I walk into the chapel, I hear him talking about how it's on him. Fida,
Yes, Captain.
we've been under a lot of stress and pressure. It's not all on you. It's honestly, as captain, it's on me to also make sure that we can escape from the death planet that we're going to.
Well, Captain, I figure we could probably barter something for some. He's like, I don't know what, but we'll figure something out. And besides, you might not need to leave. Just walk through the portal and be done with it.
There's an idea.
Yeah, just walk away from our debts and just disappear off into another horizon.
New adventure awaits.
Yep. Be tough to bring Rakam along, though. He's like, I kind of want to bring him along. I mean, he's done right by us. Either that or he's playing a real long game. Just like looks at the ground scowling. Just like,
Maybe you can fashion some sort of travel hologram.
No, Captain, the issue is that Rakam uses the ship worth of power supply and computing power. That's why he's so smart. He's got a much bigger brain than you or me.
She raises an eyebrow.
He's like, no, physically. I mean, look, we fit inside the thing that houses him. He's in every system. Not much you can do about it.
I was hoping you could use your portal builder brain to think something up.
I can do stuff, but I'm not a genius all of a sudden. I just know things now.
Normally I would pray to the merchant, but I think in this case I'm going to pray to the judge.
Oh, you might want to be careful about that.
For if there's wrongdoings going on under the planet of nefarious means, people that might be part of the darkness, that judgment comes quickly for them. I will burn some. Yeah, so I'll have a small bowl of spices that, when lit, smells like home to me. On the asteroid belt, the smell of gasoline and carbon.
Fantastic. I love it. You burn some stuff. People around you and your own crew are like, oh shit, is the chapel on fire? Well, maybe that's an omen. Oh no. Either way, you prepare. Icarus carefully lands the vessel somewhat near this pinpoint on the map. From there, it's going to be a bit of a walk to where you believe this opening might be. But that is going to happen next time. And so thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Children of the Periphery. We greatly appreciate your listening ears. Thanks, and good night.